Okay, we are back for another episode of Embrace Your Brand, and I have another wonderful guest on today. Her name is Natalie Barnett, and I have got to know her through some like a networking group or mastermind, and we've actually done some work together. And I just am so thankful that I'm able to have you today on the podcast and just to kind of tell about your story and how you've evolved into like where you're at right now and what it is that you're doing. So I want you to take a moment to just introduce yourself to my listeners.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me, Laura. Yeah, I love being able to work with you. Last year was such a great experience because Laura redid my branding, and it was such a fun, positive experience. Like things were uncovered that I did not know were going to be uncovered in the best possible way. And so it was really cool. But I'm Natalie Barnett. I am an EFT practitioner for business owners. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. So it's a specific subconscious tool that we can use to help us to release any of those blocks, the stuckness, those emotions that make us feel like I'm scared or I'm anxious. So we don't take the actions we need to take to be successful in our business. It also works in life, in parenting, and works in a lot of areas. And I help clients to work through that so that they can show up and take the actions necessary to move their business forward into success in whichever way they define that. But I'm also a mom of three, and I have a 14-year-old son, a 12-year-old daughter, and a 9-year-old daughter. And I was just telling Laura, one of my 9-year-old is homesick today. And so we're just kind of, we're rolling with the punches. But that's who I am. I live in Williamsburg, Virginia. Like I always say, it's like down the street from Pocahontas, where she grew up. And sometimes I'll imagine like maybe she roamed through these same woods that I'm roaming through too, and can just feel that connection to lots of history around here. So that is me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Well, I'm just ecstatic that you're here and that we get to do this podcast together. And thank you so much. I really enjoyed just working with you and, like you said, kind of uncovering some of these different things. And I feel like, from my perspective, that, I gave you that questionnaire and I felt like I got one vibe on paper and then I got one vibe talking to you. And I'm like, how do I make
Mhm.
these match here? And so, it's just asking questions and kind of going through different things and coming up with that final rebrand, which I absolutely love. I feel like it is so you with the colors and the vibe, and you've just been able to take that and really run with it, especially like social media stuff, putting it on your Kajabi site and all that. And so I just get excited every time I see that. I'm like, oh, it's looking so great.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And it's so funny because I get that too. Like you ask questionnaires, you get pre-work, before you work together, there's like, you need to gather some information. And I'll get the same thing with clients where it's like on paper, this is the problem, but when we start talking, this is the real problem, and how they kind of play together. And it really informs how we're going to move forward through this process. And you were so good at that. You were so like gentle, but also firm and like, no, I'm gonna, you're convicted. That's what it was. You're convicted that we're gonna make this right. And so I have to ask her, what did you mean by that? And are you sure this is what the
Yeah.
vibe is? Did you get that from somebody else? And you're just trying to make that part of you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's really good. And in fact, I probably was trying to do that. And so it ended up, I'll share this quick story because it's a good visual of it. In my logo now, there is the sun, like a sunburst kind of, and then there's like an ocean wave, something that kind of reflects the ocean. And I was like, huh, I don't know if that's me. Like the first time I saw it. And then I was like, I have a ring that I wear that has an ocean wave on it. And the sun has always, and I have like, I created art that has like a sunburst on it.
Mhm.
I have suns all over the place. And I'm like, oh no, that's me. That is me. And I just didn't even know it. And so it's so cool. And it's made designing, like posting, creating content. It's made my website so much easier to do because it's so cohesive. It's so me, and it's so easy just to plug into wherever I need it. So thank
Yeah.
you for that. That was amazing.
Yeah, you're welcome. I feel like there's such depth to that because honestly, like you sent me your Pinterest board for inspiration. I was like, I see so many like either sunrises or sunsets in this,
Mhm.
and they're so beautiful. And I'm like, you know, you weren't really sure what you wanted to go with. And I'm like, well, I see this theme recurring a lot. And the fact that a lot of the things that you had aligned with that, like I think you even sent me a picture of like, look at my watch band. It's got little sunshines on
Yes,
it. I was
it
like,
does. It still
that's
does. Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like just being able to pick up on those little bitty things. And I think even too, it plays into what you do with like the mind body business because when you're able to work through those emotions and those mindset blocks, it's like a new day is dawned. You know, you've kind of said goodbye to those old ways of thinking and those old things that were keeping you stuck. And now you're doing something new and fresh and you're actually able to move forward. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you're finally getting past that Groundhog Day that keeps repeating itself. You're able to get into a new day, a new start. And I feel like mornings are always just such a good depiction of that.
Yes. Okay, hold
And
on while I take some notes on how I'm going to talk on my social media right after this. Like,
yeah, yeah,
that's
take some
perfect.
notes.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Groundhog Day feeling, because that's what it feels like. We just get stuck in these patterns and loop into them. And when you can finally break free and break through that, it's like
Mhm.
the sun coming out after, like, we have some cloudy weather going on right now, but as soon as the sun comes out, right, it shifts everything. It's going to feel great. So I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I feel like, as you're talking about just gloomy days, it could start out that morning where it's like the sun is covered, it's cloudy, it's just makes you want to go back to bed. And by that afternoon when the sun's out, you're like, you just had this new burst of energy of like, okay, let's get outside. Let's do something. Even just this morning, I was outside with Evelyn and she did not want to come inside. She just wanted to keep playing outside. She had her boots on. She was ready to jump in puddles and just explore and throw rocks in the puddles and all this stuff. And I'm like, it is so beautiful and sunny. I just have to sit here and like enjoy it. I'm
Yeah.
making sure she doesn't fall in a puddle or hurt herself or get somewhere she doesn't need to be. But at the same time, I'm like, I can enjoy this. I'm like, I'm actually outside. Most of the time, if I didn't have her or something, I'd be like inside at my computer, doing work, doing things. And then I would forget, like, I need to be outside. I need to be around nature, around this kind of open space.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that kind of reminder is great. And like you were talking about with overcoming those emotions that get you stuck, I feel like the first quarter of this year has been nothing but breaking through old thought patterns and emotional blocks and stuff that I didn't even realize was there. Like I couldn't put a name to it, but actually like having someone kind of working with me to figure out what those are. And I was like, oh yeah, yeah, I resonate with that one. I resonate with that one. Like, someone I think had asked, like, well, do you fear failing? I was like, no, not really. I'm like, I've failed many a times. I got all kinds of stuff that I could tell you that never actually worked or never
Yeah.
happened, or, I never got clients for this, or I never got anybody in this group thing. Like, I could tell you all kinds of stories that I feel like I have about failure. And then what the thing was I actually feared success.
Hmm.
I feared, like, I thought successful people didn't make mistakes. That idea of being successful meant I had to be perfect,
Yeah.
so to speak. I had to be able to upkeep with the demands and stay consistent. And I couldn't make a mistake because that would ruin everything.
Hmm.
I couldn't fail at that point. And been so used to just, if something didn't work out, okay, big deal. But it's like, but once you get into this success of having more responsibility, then came that fear of, well, once I have people relying on me and I'm responsible for all these things, if I mess up, I don't know how I'm going to deal with that.
Yeah.
And so that had to be reframed for me of just not fearing that. Like, look at plenty of people that are what you would consider successful. They have mistakes that they make. They have things that just flare up and, like technical difficulties or, I've heard of book launches where the front cover had a misspelling on it, and things like that. Like those things happen. How you cope with those
Hmm.
is what really makes you successful. Staying persistent, staying, keeping up with the responsibilities and knowing how to navigate those. So like, what is your experience with some of these things? And like, I know that for me, it's going to be different than from you, but like, what are the things that really kind of come up for you?
Oh my gosh. No, nothing. I have nothing. I'm
Yeah.
perfectly, no.
Yeah.
Hold
You
on.
got
How
all
long
the
is,
EFT. You should be
yeah.
perfect, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. No. How long is this podcast and how long do we have to talk about all this? So many things. And that's the thing too. Okay. And I want like, especially if you are service-based, like a coach of some sort, and you help get other people to take action and work on their thoughts, or something similar to that, a health coach, a business coach, a mindset coach, all of that. And you're afraid, like it could be a limiting belief because I've come up against it. If I don't have this all figured out and perfect 100%, then I shouldn't be able to lead people. I couldn't or shouldn't lead people. But that is not the case at all. What you're demonstrating is that you are still human and these things are going to come up, but you have tools to help you to navigate them in a way that's more productive, in a way that's actually getting you into the state and the actions that you want to have. So I have all of the same things that come up, that fear of being seen failing. So it's not so much fear of failure because I will try things, but I don't want people to know that I failed. And what really helped me with that is just calling out and being like, not that I say this all the time, but like if somebody asks me like, oh yeah, nobody signed up for that. I wasn't able to run that mastermind again because people didn't sign up for it in the second or the third round. After the third round, I ran it. And so I'm afraid of being seen failing. So what I'll do instead is to be like, okay, what specifically am I afraid of? I'm specifically afraid of somebody saying, oh, well, she doesn't know what she's doing, so I'm not going to sign up to work with her. I'm afraid of someone calling me out online, like seeing a comment, like, where's the proof that you can do this kind of thing. So when I see what specifically I am worried about, then I can take that into my tapping and then take that into a script. So for me, so tapping, what you'll do if you're unfamiliar is you'll tune in to one specific feeling, emotion, thought that's coming up. Let's say you are afraid of being seen failing. And that makes you feel like worried to even post anything, worried to even try to launch the thing again. And so you're noticing, this is not helpful. This is not helping me get to my goal. So what you'll do is you'll start by tapping, there's different points of your body, and you start on the side of your hand, and you'll repeat things like you'll say, even though I'm afraid to launch this offer again because nobody signed up for it, and I'm afraid of being seen failing, I deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. And you set that up, and then you'll tap through all the different tapping points, and I can detail what those are, but you'll say these things out loud. You'll acknowledge them. You'll remove them from your system. And then you can, once you bring that highly charged emotion down, like on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're closer to the higher level and you bring it down to a 0, then you can go back in and be like, okay, what do I want to feel? What do I want to think? And you'll go back through those tapping points and say, somebody out there needs what I have to offer. If I'm choosing not to share this with other people, then I am withholding information and help from people who need me the most. So like go through and what do you want to believe? So that's how I handle like fear of failure. And it works with everything. It works with fear of success. What if I can't handle it? What if I make a mistake and somebody gets mad at me? And just ask yourself specifically, what is that thing? How is it showing up for you? What are you afraid of in more specific terms? Because our mind really likes to generalize and jumble things together and be like, it's all scary. No, but what specifically? What story are you creating about that? So I think I have to, there's two sides to that coin. Like I have the fear of being seen failing, and then the fear of success, because what if I can't handle it, right? So both of those things you can use tapping for. So yeah, I have them all. I have them all. I just know I just have more knowledge and tools to use to work through them so that I don't have to stay stuck. I can choose differently, different actions because I
Mhm.
feel and think differently.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the big things to highlight when you think of, working with someone such in a service-based business. So if they're coaching you or guiding you or instructing you of like how to kind of overcome things or how to set things up better for yourself, whether it's in your life or your business, one of the great things to know about that person beforehand is like, have they done this before? Are they, going through the same thing? It's different to know all the techniques, to be able to turn right around and teach them. But to be that leader, you kind of have to become that role model of like, okay, I know when I deal with these, and these are the tools that I go to, the same ones that I'm telling you to do, the same, methods and strategies that I would tell you. I've either done or I've tried, or I know enough about them to kind of tell you, here's how you could go about doing it. It's like, I don't think I would want to work with someone who's going to be like, yeah, I could do this for you. I've seen somebody else do it, so I'll give it a shot. Like,
Yeah.
wait a second. You've not actually tried this or done this, or like, you know, we tend to gravitate more towards someone who they have a story of what they've struggled with that's very similar to what we're struggling with, but they're showing that they're making a lot of progress.
Yeah.
They're showing that they have done different techniques, they've done tools, they've done things like persistently that have actually helped them to overcome that, or at least are empowering them to keep improving. And then they're ready to turn back around and like, let me pull somebody else up. Okay, I've climbed this hill.
Hmm.
Now I'm ready to turn around and help somebody else climb up. Because I
Yeah.
mean, there's no point where we reach like the very top of the mountain. We've perfected all the things. We don't have anything else to overcome. Like, we don't really ever reach that point, but we get high enough to where we can bring somebody else along.
Yeah, and I think people wait for that. Well, once I have this perfect or have this mastered, then I will do the thing. But we never really arrive. And honestly, that's not it doesn't that's not how your brain works.
Yeah.
So your subconscious will reveal to you things that you are ready to work through, like layers at a time. And
Mhm.
then once you work through that, there's going to be another layer that comes through. You're like, oh, okay, so this is presenting now. And it's not to say that to like scare people off of doing this work. It's just to let you know that this is literally how our subconscious works, one layer at a time. Imagine, and we want it to work that way. Imagine if like every fear, every doubt, everything that you need to work through in your entire lifespan comes up at one time. It would be completely overwhelming. We would shut down. We wouldn't be able to do it.
Mhm.
And that's why we have this life. That's why we have the time that we have in order to like become. It's more about that becoming that person, the kind of person that can handle more and growing our capacity. Because you can apply that to everything like parenting. I mean, I bring up parenting a lot. I know that I work with business owners a lot, but when you can apply these same principles to your kids too and teach them, like why not have them be some of your first, quote clients and teach them these skills, because you're going to make a huge ripple effect by doing that. um
Yeah.
Anybody in your care, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a parent to do this, but like anybody that you lead, you can help them to work through these, mindsets that pop up, because it's just going to help everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of the mindset struggles that we deal with, we take on in the early stages of our childhood,
Hmm.
and then we as adults are left to work with, work through them, or presented back with those same mindset blocks or emotional triggers in different ways as adults. But, I've noticed even for myself, like when I start to feel an emotion, I'm thinking, oh, this is that exact same feeling I remember feeling when I was a kid when certain things would happen. Like if I was in a group setting that I didn't feel comfortable with, I'm like, this is the exact same feeling. But I have a different perspective on it now
Yep.
where I can actually push through it. Or if there's some things like I I was stuck in my head about something, and it was on repeat so much that like I didn't know how to voice it. And my husband was asking me, he's like, well, what's on your mind? Like, what's the problem? I was like, I'm doubting myself. He's like, why are you doubting yourself? And I'm like, I felt a literal block in being able to speak. And so I just had to force myself to do like one or two words at a time. I'm thinking, this is the exact same feeling I remember having as a kid where people would be like hounding me, like, just tell me, just tell me, just tell me. And I'm like, it's all up here. If my brain could speak for me, it would tell you a boatload of things that that is
Wow.
going on that I know once I speak them, I'm going to realize how silly they are, how like no weight, they hold no weight whatsoever once I speak them out loud. But I had to force myself into just getting started with saying just a couple words at a time. And he's like, you're being your own worst critic. He's like, that's not true. He's like, it's not that you can't do it. You've already been doing it. Something is
Yeah.
just telling you can't. And I'm like, yeah, you're so right. I just needed you to help me talk through this and
Hmm.
overcome this. And, so it is, I think it's great when you can go ahead and start teaching that to the younger generation of how do you overcome these things if you think I can't do all these things?
Yeah.
Or, you're dealing with this emotion and something's come up and you're like, okay, I need to work through this. Cause I think even our middle son, he was like, well, we kind of asked him like, what are things you want to do when you grow up? And he named off like, well, I think I want to do like either one of these three. And I was like, okay, did you know you could do all three? Like just kind of
Mhm.
opening him up to that thing of like, you don't have to pick one. You could literally do all three however you want to and just give him ideas. And like, I don't want anything to hold you back. I don't want you to limit yourself thinking I got to pick one.
Yeah.
Because I know that was something that I dealt with was like, pick your career, go to college. And I'm thinking, I have no earthly idea what I want to do. I picked culinary college because I figured well, everybody's got to eat, so it's definitely an in-demand industry, and it's never going to go anywhere because everybody's always fixing food. I cannot fail, quote unquote, going into something like that.
Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah.
whole side note and tangent, but
No, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, the one of the things that popped up for me is when you were talking about you couldn't even put words to it. It's because your subconscious knows that if you say it out loud and you realize that it's doesn't hold any weight, that then you'll be able to let it go, and it's afraid for you to let it go because it's there for a reason. It in your subconscious, it's not trying to trick you or keep you stuck. It's trying to keep you alive. That's its only main job, is to keep the body alive. So when you're like, gosh, why can't I even just say this? Or why can't I even tell this person? Or why can't I even write this in a journal? Whatever it is, it's because your subconscious is trying to protect you. So I'm so proud of you for just like one word at a time. You got it out. And that is progress right there.
yeah, I don't think I've ever really been able to do that before that moment. And I'm thinking, and I'm on the verge of being 33, so like
Yeah.
having taken that long, but I can remember very vividly moments where I hit that point and I'm like, I just could not speak. I could not verbalize it because yeah, it was very scary. I'm thinking, what are people going to think about once they know what I'm actually thinking or why I'm not actually doing this? And so
Hmm.
yeah, it was that, method that my subconscious was just keeping you safe, kind of for your own good. And now I'm realizing this is not for my own good
Yeah.
because I'm stewing over this and it has sucked the life out of me and taken away my energy. And I'm like, I can't keep going back to this. I have to somehow take some little step to get past it. And that was just, the first thing that came to mind was just say one word, like
Yeah.
say two words, just
Hmm.
something. I can't keep doing this. I've got to work through this. And so that's kind of how that was for me. But I want to get into kind of like shifting this just a little bit. I want to hear kind of like your story. I know you've been in business for several years now. So has EFT always been something that you started with, or is it something that you've just evolved into? I'm curious.
Totally evolved into it. I started my entrepreneurial journey in network marketing, where I think a lot of people get started
Mhm.
because it's like you don't have to create the thing, you just sell it. So it's a great way to learn how to market and sell, how you stand out, so that because we're all selling the same thing, right? So how you can stand out and get people to listen to you. And so I started there, and it was in the health and wellness space, and I really loved coaching. I've always been a coach. That's, when people ask me when I was little, like, what do you want to do? I want to be a gymnastics coach because that's what I did growing up, was gymnastics. And I was a gymnastics coach for a very long time, but kind of burned myself out. It's a sport that doesn't have an end, like literally no off season at all. And then so I was more interested in, like, let's try to find some business that's more mine. So I started with network marketing, and then because I loved nutrition so much, I went and I got more certifications and became a certified nutrition coach. And then I started taking clients on, had started my LLC. It was my own business, and took clients on for nutrition coaching. And it was a very, science-based, evidence-based approach to coaching. And then I got more into like the macros side of things. So proteins, fats, and carbs, and exercise, how we can balance the energy in and out, and how building muscle, like all of that stuff. Like I was, and still am, well versed in that. But what I was finding was that I can tell somebody, we can work together, even working together, to create a plan, to create a system, let them know what the ideal ratio of proteins, fats, and carbs is for them, how many calories they need in a day, how much to move their body. I could tell them all those things. We can even make a plan for how we're going to, motivate ourselves to get up and go do these things. But not everybody got results because their mind got in the way. I was working with the 5% of their mind, which is our conscious awareness. That is the willpower. That is well, I'm just going to figure it out. And I'm continuing my education now into NLP, which is just the way that the brain processes information and creates our reality, and how we can change that if we want to. And a bunch of different certifications are coming through this, but 5% of our brain is conscious awareness, and 95% is kind of like the iceberg, right? It's under the surface. 95% of the iceberg is under the water and you don't see it. That is in charge of 95% of what your brain allows you to do. Keeps your body alive. It's what keeps your heart beating when you sleep, and your blood pumping and all of that. So I was like, okay, there's something deeper going on here. So I started looking into more subconscious work, coaching strategies. And I started with tapping because I felt that it was the fastest result that I could find, the fastest technique. Like 10 minutes a day is what I tell people, to literally reframe your mind, which makes you feel different, take different actions, and get different results. So I got certified in EFT first, and decided probably August of 2022, no, I think it was earlier than that, to start transitioning out of nutrition coaching and into more mindset coaching. And I love business. I love entrepreneurship. I love helping people create businesses that are for them, not fitting a mold, but they get to create it based on their goals. So I just kind of went all in on using this one modality. And I have other coaching strategies that I use, but this is a big one that I use. And I created a whole library of EFT tapping videos where people can just easily choose what they need to work through and log in whenever they need it, clear out their mind, move forward with their day. So it's not been something I've had forever, but it made me fall in love with subconscious techniques. And like I said, I'll be graduating in June of 2024 with like clinical hypnotherapy and time techniques, life coach, success coach, like all of these different modalities to help people to get unstuck. So I'm so excited. It's been really, really fun.
Yeah. That's a beautiful journey of just, it reminded me of what you said earlier of like the subconscious reveals things to us little by little. So it's
Yeah.
like you can
Yep.
kind of see that unfolding for you of like, you were in this, and then it made you think of what about this here? So like that was
Mhm.
kind of revealed. And as you were doing nutrition, you're like, okay, I'm working so hard at trying to get people to change this, but they're coming up against this mindset block. There's something going on subconscious. And I think that, if you know human design and if you understand projectors, that like
Yeah.
there's something about us that kind of love to gain knowledge and insight and guide people towards things. And I don't know if you have a one in your profile or not,
No, I don't.
but I do. So it's that investigator of
Yeah.
things where you just like, I've got to get to the bottom of this and I've got to understand this. But I feel like any projector, there's just always this, I want to know
Hmm.
things. I want to know them well because somebody's going to ask me or I can help somebody with this. So, as you were talking about this, I really see this shining through in you of, you know, learning all these different things because you're meant to help someone.
Yeah.
There's someone out there that needs what you have to offer and is ready to work through these subconscious things because they know, like, well, I have the plan, I have all these things, but why am I just not moving forward on it? Why am I not getting results?
Yeah.
And, a lot of times it is that subconscious programming that we've been conditioned to, we grew up in, or whatever it is. And like in my case, there's some things I didn't realize I had to have somebody else point that out to me of like, oh, you have this issue. You're
Yeah.
you're afraid of this, kind of helping me dive deeper into that and realizing, wow, that is so true. I did not realize just how much that was affecting those things. And once you kind of have that rewired and flipped over, then you're like, I feel different. I
Hmm.
feel like I'm not so afraid of that, or I'm taking different actions that are actually letting me get past that point. And I think that's the beautiful part of it. And you can just hearing your story of like how you've just transitioned so much. I always worried about like my own story of, you know, when it came to telling people like, what's kind of your backstory? I'm thinking there's a lot of different things that I have done and they've all just built to where I'm at. So like if I have to tell you why I got into graphic design or brand design, and like it's a really long story if you think
Yeah.
about it, if you take in all the little pieces, but it's constantly adding on layers of just what I want to be able to help people to do, just like
Yeah.
with what you're doing. And I think that that is fantastic because definitely getting into entrepreneurship, you realize just how many mindset blocks you have, how much you have yet to grow. And I'm like, I don't know what it is about doing that, but you really just open the floodgates when you're like, I'm going to open my own business. It's
Yeah.
totally different.
That'll show you real quick what all the filters you have in your mind are, like who you think you are, who you think you are not, the beliefs that you have, the values that you have. It's going to tell you real quick where you stand. And that's what I don't want is for women especially, but any entrepreneur to say or think that, okay, it didn't work in a specific amount of time or as fast as I thought it should, or in this specific field, and now I want to go over here and try something else, that you make that mean that you are not meant for this, that this is not your path. And that's not really true. Like if you come to that conclusion, question it, because there's something stopping you to keep you safe. What are you afraid of happening? And just allow yourself to experience that in your mind. Like, what is it that I'm afraid of? And when you have these different tools to help you, it's like, you can push a boulder up a hill. We all know we can push a boulder up a hill, and it's that hard work. And maybe you have that value from being a kid. Like, it doesn't count unless it's hard. It's the hard work only. But you can also create a pulley system to lift that boulder up while you just stand back and like go, I created this pulley system. Easy. That's subconscious work. Work at that deep level, and you would be amazed how fast those changes happen.
Yeah. I love that analogy. I really do. And like I had never heard it that way or thought of it that way of like when you really work at the subconscious programming, that it's not all, oh, I just have to work really hard at this.
Mhm.
It does become that more simplistic system of, oh, I just have to think of it in this perspective, or my total way of looking at it has changed because now I don't have this block. And then, like you said, it is that pulley system of like, this ain't so hard anymore. I'm still doing the same work, but it's not hard like it was before.
Yeah.
So,
And we will have that programming to say, if it's not hard, if it wasn't hard, then it doesn't count. It only
yeah.
counts if it's hard. But that's not really true. If the result is desirable and what you wanted to get done and it didn't take as much effort as you thought it was going to, that's a win-win right there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think I've had that program before where it's just like, if it's not hard, does it really work? You
Yeah.
know? And learning human design and just learning about like mindset stuff, realizing that, okay, what you're really naturally good at doesn't have to feel like it's hard. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I feel like the more, because I love human design, it's something that I'm finishing up like level 2 certification right now. And it is another thing that has uncovered programming that I it's a privilege to work on now and rewrite for myself. So, and it's just day by day, like, I don't know, look at it as fun. It's
Yes.
fun to become the best version of yourself. And as long as you don't put an outcome, like a time limit on it, just
Hmm.
let it unfold.
Yeah, yeah. And it's all about just those small little things that you can do every day, whether it's the EFT tapping, whether
Mhm.
it's some subconscious programming and all this other things. Like there's so many tools and resources available to us. And it's just a matter of like, what can you put on repeat that
Yeah.
you could do for yourself that if you did it for a month, you would be transformed in some way of like, oh, I don't have this problem anymore, or it's not so hard anymore. And that
Yeah.
this is easier, that you're making these little bitty changes. Cause it's not that big thing that you have to do, that big ginormous change, because there's always times I think in our lives where we think, well, once I get to this point, I'll be happier. But if you haven't worked through that mindset
Mhm.
to help get you there, then when that happens, you're still gonna be like, well, I got it now, but why do I still feel like I did before I ever had it? Whether
Yeah.
it's that money milestone or a number figure in your business of I have so many followers now or whatever it is. And even if it's just in life of like thinking, well, I have the house, I got the degree, I got all this stuff, but you're not feeling that fulfilled feeling, then that there's something subconscious I need to work on. And anybody who's listening, and if they're feeling like they're noticing moments where they're hitting something subconscious because they can't figure out, like, I'm doing the things, doing the work, why isn't it working? Then that's your cue to like, okay, I need someone to help me work on reprogramming some subconscious stuff. I definitely highly recommend, Natalie, her EFT tapping. I've done a couple of those. They're fun in a way, and like they're different because
Yeah.
you're like tapping on yourself and stuff, but being able to verbalize and say things out loud, you just realize like, oh, okay, I can believe this. I can work through this. And it's such a simple methodology to just
Mhm.
incorporate into a day. And like you said, to do 10 minutes a day. So, I mean, if you're wanting this, Natalie has a whole little library of stuff for you. So, in the show notes will be all the links to get connected with Natalie, to find out about her playlist, EFT tapping, and what she's got going on. And I just want to thank you so much, Natalie, for being here today and being on my podcast.
Thank you so much, Laura. This is really fun.